Namah Shri Yatirajaya.
Namah Shri Yatirajaya.
Vivekananda Suraye.
Vivekananda Suraye.
Satchit Sukha Swarupaya.
Satchit Sukha Swarupaya.
Swamine Tapaharine.
Swamine Tapaharine.
So with that we commence this series of talks. Swami Vivekananda was born in Kolkata in the district Shimulia. Don't confuse it with Shimla. Shimla, which is in the west side, in the Himalaya, near the Himalayas. Shimulia, in a house number 3, Gaur Mohan Mukherjee Lane. The birth occurred 36 minutes, 36 seconds after 6 in the morning. 6, 36, 36. How do we know the time so accurately? His father, Vishwanath Datta, was an amateur astrologer. He wanted to cast the horoscope of his son. So he kept the note of the correct time of birth. You know, for casting a horoscope, 3 things are required. Time of birth, place of birth, and thirdly, date of birth. All the 3. T-O-B, P-O-B, D-O-B. With these 3, today computers can print out your horoscope. The father's name was Vishwanath Datta. He was a brilliant attorney, a lawyer who had amassed a lot of wealth. And mother's name was Bhuvaneshwari Devi. Born in 1847, she passed away in 1911. She outlived her eldest son by 9 years. You know, those were the days when there were no schools for girls. Girls had to learn everything at home. What is the first thing they used to learn? Cooking. How to wash vessels. Why? The parents would say, that is enough for you. That is enough for you. You are not going to become a college professor by studying books and all those things. It was in that environment that Bhuvaneshwari Devi was born. But when she got married, she realized her husband does not share that opinion. Vishwanath Datta gave a lot of importance to education, so he could not send his wife to school. Instead, he became the teacher at home. He taught her a lot of things until she learned within a few years how to read, write and speak English. Sitting at home, she learned how to read, write and speak English. She was able to converse with the Western female disciples of Swami Vivekananda later, and they were amazed at her knowledge of the English language. She was brilliant. And another important thing she gave to her son later was her fantastic memory. All she had to do to learn the whole of Ramayana by heart was to listen to it once. Then she remembered everything. This helped her a lot in bringing up the children. Vishwanath Datta was the head of a joint family. If you go to Kolkata and go to 3 Gaur Mohan Mukherjee Lane, it has undergone lots of transformations. You will see all the places associated with the family. 2 boys had been born to them, Vishwanath Datta and Bhuvaneshwari Devi. Unfortunately, both of them died in infancy. Then 2 girls were born to them. I'll be showing the picture of one of the girls. But it was the desire of Bhuvaneshwari Devi to have a son. So what did she do? She went on praying to Lord Shiva at home. And which is the sacred day for Shiva? Monday. That is when you have the Shiva prayers in your bhajan. Monday. At the same time, she requested one of her aunts living in Varanasi, Benares, to go to the temple of Shiva, Vireshwar, and pray to Shiva in that place. So ultimately, when the child was born on the 12th January 1863, the mother gave him the name of Shiva in Varanasi, Vireshwar. Now let me show you some pictures. This is Varanasi, a town which is encircled by two rivers, Varuna and Asi. The two together enclose the town, so it is called Varanasi. Benares. Anybody who has been to Benares? Seen Benares? You have been there? Huh? You have seen Kashi?
Yes, sir.
Has it been cleaned up? No, still the same thing. That is a pity. And this is Vireshwar Shiva. You know, there is a difference between the worships in temples between North India and South India. In South India, you are not allowed inside the sanctum sanctorum. Whatever you want to worship to the divine, you bring it and give it to the priest. The priest is a proxy. On your behalf, he goes inside, worships and brings you prasad. In North India, it is not like that. You can directly walk into the sanctum sanctorum, do the worship yourself. We went long ago to Gaya, the famous Gaya Kshetra. I was surprised when they told me, चलिए अंदर, आप ही खुद पूजा कर सकते हैं. Please go in, you can worship yourself. So my wife and I went there, stood by the side of that Pada, Vishnu Pada, and worshipped it. There is a great quality among North Indians. Similarly here, Vireshwar Shiva, a temple in Kashi, the aunt of Bhuvaneshwari could go personally there, worship herself this particular linga. So when the son was born, he was given the name Vireshwar. And that was the first name by which Swami Vivekananda was endowed. This is a view from the lane, old lane, it exists even today, leading to the ancestral house, 3 Gaur Mohan Mukherjee Lane. It looks very unassuming. There is a door. You enter by the door and right in front of you is a huge quadrangle and a 3-storied building. It was a very big house. But here it looks very modest. Today this house is the property of Belur Math, Sri Ramakrishna order. The whole house inside has been completely renovated. And the entrance still exists, but the main entrance is on the other main road. And as soon as you enter the building from the main road, you find an office, reception counter. You make a request there, they send one person with you to take you around the house. A labyrinth of staircases. Unless you live in that, probably you will not be familiar with the staircases, one leading to the other. And they take you to the room where Bile was born or Vireshwar was born. At that spot there is a cot. On the cot there is a nice bed full of flowers. There is a pillow. And leaning against the pillow there is a big photograph of Swami Vivekananda, which is worshipped every day there. And outside there is a grandfather clock. You know what is a grandfather clock? Old-fashioned clock with a long pendulum. It goes on tick-tock, tick-tock. You know, you can't sleep in the room where there is a grandfather clock. It goes on disturbing you. And the grandfather clock is stopped. And the fingers point out to 6, 36, 36. indicating the birth time of Swami Vivekananda. The quadrangle was the place where the children always used to play. I told you it is a joint family. 30 to 35 members lived in that building. And Vishwanath Datta was the provider for all of them. His uncle was there, his cousins were there, all useless fellows, none of them educated, none of them qualified. But Vishwanath Datta was very fortunate that he had an extraordinary father, Durga Prasad. There was only one problem with Durga Prasad. As soon as Vishwanath Datta was born as a child, he left home. He disappeared. For 1 year, nobody knew where he had gone. At the end of 1 year, he came back with Gerwa cloth, dress of a sannyasi with a long beard. He told the family, I have taken sannyas. The family locked him up. And Durga Prasad went on a fast. Until you release me, I will not eat, I will not drink. After 3 days, the family thought, suppose he dies. A sannyasi dying inside the house? Is it a good omen? So they opened the door and released him, and he disappeared, never to be seen again. Later, there was a guess that he went to Haridwar, started an ashrama there, and passed away there. This is a point all of you have to remember. The grandfather of Swami Vivekananda was a sannyasi. And when the baby was born, all the elderly ladies of the family had a look at the baby and they exclaimed to Bhuvneshwari Devi, your son is a spit image of his grandfather. Right from that day, there was a thought behind Bhuvneshwari's mind, will my son also go the same way as my father-in-law? As if that was not enough, Vishwanath Datta cast the horoscope of the boy, the child, Vireshwar. What did the horoscope indicate? Either he would become a brilliant ruler of society, leader of society, or he would abandon the world and become a famous wandering monk. Does it sound familiar? This kind of prediction? It was made about another great personality in India. You are not well up in Indian history. What a pity. Gautama Siddhartha, who later became the Buddha. When the child was born, the astrologers told the king, Shuddhodana, your son will either become an emperor or he will abandon the world. Now you know why the boy was never allowed to go out of the palace, never allowed to see the outside world. It is only when he came to the outside world and saw misery, saw death, and saw a Shramana sannyasi, he decided to abandon the world. And funny thing is, in later years, many Japanese and Americans said that Swami Vivekananda looks very much like Gautama the Buddha. You know what the Westerners considered? That Swami Vivekananda is a reincarnation of the Buddha. Buddha was a wandering monk. Swamiji became a wandering monk. Buddha emphasized a philosophy which is very close to Advaita philosophy. And Swamiji was an expert in Advaita philosophy. You will see these parallel things as we go in our course of lectures. So, the boy had 2 elder sisters and 2 younger brothers. Let me introduce you to them. By the way, before that, anybody here who is a palmist? The very first time I showed this slide was in August 1996, and there was a girl student from Bhopal who later came and told me, I am a palmist. I have examined the palm print. He was a born meditator. Dhyana Siddha. Exactly what Sri Ramakrishna told about Narendranath Datta. Meditation is in his blood. Is this the print of the right hand or the left hand? Huh?
Right hand.
Left or right?
Right.
They are, the three of them are showing. Right. It is the right. Print. Who will see the left hand, Baba? Have you ever gone to an astrologer? They won't ask you to stretch your left hand. They ask you to stretch your right hand. If they want confirmation, they take it to they ask to see the left hand. This is Swami Vivekananda. You know where it was taken? In the United States, in New York. It is written there, date is written there. 1895. Phrenological Society. A very unscientific, irrational method of deciding the character of an individual. Swarnamayi Devi, eldest sister of the Swami Vivekananda. When I mention this name, I am reminded of an incident which happened in the IISc in one batch. It was a big batch. We were about 80 to 90 students. And this side was full ladies. Right from behind, one lady raised her hand. I asked her, do you have any questions? It was the first lecture. I was surprised. Could anybody have a question in the first lecture itself? No, sir, I have a comment to make. What is that? Swarnamayi Devi is the great grandmother of my husband. Great grandmother of us. The whole class gasped, started looking at her. Why? We had a member who belonged to Swami Vivekananda's family in the class. Before she left for Kolkata, she came and told me something interesting. She used to call me Swamiji, Shamiji. Shamiji, when I go back home, I'll challenge my husband. I'll tell him, I know much more about your great-grandmother's brother than you know. She was very proud that she had such an ancestor in her family. YAC is a very interesting class. We get lots of snippets like this. Later, as we go along, I'll give you some more examples of what are the things I have gathered from the YAC students. Let me see if this batch can contribute some additional information. Swarnamayi Devi. There was another sister whose picture is not available. Unfortunately, when Swamiji was in Almora in 1897, he got the news from Kolkata that sister, Haramoni, had committed suicide. Apparently some problem with the in-laws. Swamiji went into depression for 3 days. That is why he used to say, the salvation of India lies in the education of women. I told you Swamiji had 2 younger brothers. Mahendranath Datta, who became a writer in Bengali, he spent 1.5 years in England at the time when Swamiji spent part of his time in London. So one of the famous books of Mahendranath Datta in Bengali is Londone Swami Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda in London. If you go to the Ancestral house today, which is a museum, they show you the room of Mahendranath Datta with a cupboard full of the books written by Mahendranath Datta. But the most charismatic personality was Bhupendranath Datta, younger brother of Vivekananda. Bhupendra at that time was highly inspired by the revolutionary movement going on in Bengal against the Britishers. Have you heard of the Alipur bomb case? 100 years ago, very historical event. The Viceroy at that time used to live in Kolkata, Victoria Mansion. And Kolkata was the capital of India at that time. Only later the capital shifted to Delhi. So Kolkata was, and today if you go to Kolkata, you go to Victoria Mansion, they show you a light and sound show, history of Kolkata. There you will find all the details. One evening the Viceroy had an engagement in the town to attend a function. At the last moment, he decided to ask his wife and daughter to accompany him. Some people came to know about it. They were waiting outside with country-made bombs to throw it into the coach of the Viceroy. At the last moment, the Viceroy cancelled his visit, but his wife and daughter wanted to go for a spin in the city. They came out of the Victoria mansion. Somebody lobbed a powerful country-made bomb into the coach. The coach was destroyed. The driver was killed. The horses were killed. And the two ladies were also killed. There was a big furor. And there was a manhunt for the perpetrators of the crime. 3 people were arrested and taken to Alipur jail. They were sentenced each to a solitary confinement for 1 year. One was Bhupendranath Datta, the other was Arbind Ghos, and the third one was a person called Arbind Ghos. Have you heard of Arbind Ghos? Who is Arbind Ghos? What did he become later? Sri Aurobindo of Pondicherry, the famous philosopher. By that time, Arbind Ghos had completed his education in England. He had come and worked in the state of Gujarat, Surat, as a college teacher and resigned and come to Kolkata, had started a magazine containing revolutionary articles called Matrubhumi. The copies of the lectures of the articles are available even today. If you go to any society of the Aurobindo group, you will find all the books available. He also joined the revolutionary movement. He was also arrested. The other 2 people simply did time pass, some or other to spend the time. But Arbind Ghos decided to use this time to perfect his yoga. He had already learned yoga meditation from Lele, Guru Lele of Surat. He continued the practice, and he says one night he had the vision of Sri Krishna teaching Arjuna the Bhagavad Gita. That thrilled him a lot. After some time, another funny thing happened to him, which he could never explain in his life. He was about to go to sleep at 10 o'clock in the night when he heard a voice lecturing to him, regularly lecturing to him about Vedanta. The voice went on talking to him till early morning, and then it left. This happened continuously for 2 weeks. And at the end of 2 weeks, the voice made Arbind Ghos repeat whatever it had said. And Sri Aurobindo says, when the voice was convinced that I have understood everything, it left me, I never heard it again. So in one of the letters he wrote to one of his disciples, Letters on Yoga, Volume 3, in one letter he makes a remark about this dream, about this experience, and says, you know, all the thoughts are his. Only the language is mine. When somebody asked him, who was that person talking to you, he said, it can be only one person, Swami Vivekananda. Whatever you find in my books are the thoughts of Swami Vivekananda. The language is mine. I only communicate that. What enormous respect he had for Swami Vivekananda is difficult to understand. Is it easy to understand all these things? Can these things happen? By the end of this course of lectures, you would probably start believing. There is a totally different world altogether about which we are not aware. So let me close today's class by telling you a story. You must have heard of William Shakespeare? Yes. Where did he live? Stratford-upon-Avon in England, right? No. Some Madrasis say he was a Madrasi. Sheshappa Iyer. The English people copied him and called him Shakespeare. And some people from the Middle East countries say, nah, He is Sheikh Pir Sahab. He is our man. All this is a joke about Shakespeare, which is his most famous tragedy. Most famous all over the world. To play that role is considered the hallmark of greatest achievement. Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark, the highly confused character. So Act 1, Scene 4 commences with two people on the stage, Hamlet and his friend Horatio. The guards of the ramparts of the castle, Esino, come onto the stage. "Oh Prince, last night we saw the ghost of your father." Horatio laughs. You know what Hamlet says? "Horatio, don't laugh. There are many more things under the heavens than your philosophy ever dreamt of." Is that not a fact? Life is strange, isn't it? Shall I give you an assignment? Don't have to write it down, but you have to think about it. What are the events in your life which ultimately led you to come to Prashanti Kutiram? Did you understand? What are the events of your life which led you to come to Prashanti Kutiram? Tomorrow, I will tell you the experience of a couple of IISc students who did the self-analysis and came and told me, "Sir, we agree with you. Life is incomprehensible. Life is very strange." You will find that throughout the life of Swami Vivekananda. Swamiji himself used to say, there is a reason why scriptures say, surrender to the divine. Only the divine knows the future. Do the astrologers know the future? Ask the astrologers. You know what they say? We can only guess at the future. We can give you direction. We can't predict the future. If he's a real astrologer, not the one who is telling fortune for money, they will promise you all kinds of things under the heavens. A real astrologer will tell you, we can't predict things. We can only give you a sense of direction. It is likely that events may happen in this particular manner. Life is very strange, and this is what Sri Arbind also said, Swami Vivekananda also said. So I have introduced you to the most important personalities in this life, and tomorrow we will take up the boyhood and the youth of Narendranath Datta. His name was Vireshwar, shortened to Bile. At the age of 5, when he was admitted to school, the name was changed to Narendranath Datta. So tomorrow we will take up the life of Narendranath Datta from the age of 5 onwards up to the time he joins college. His earlier education. Okay?
Yes.
Shall we close? We close with another short prayer. Again, please sit erect. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.